We just passed the law. So I'm closing the work
Excuse me,
session.
4020. It's correct, 4020. No, 4048,
Okay, so I'm
4028.
closing the public hearing and the work session on 4040, right?
Two on 4040, correct.
Right. And, but I'm holding open the work session on 4028. Okay, got it. Okay, because we're hoping if we get that information before the end of the day. Thank you. With that, we will open up, thank you, the hearing and a possible work session on 4073 and 4115. So you want to give us the measure
Yes,
summary?
Madam Chair. Members of the committee, House Bill 4073 and House Bill 4114 touch on the same subject matter. House Bill 4073 expands the applicability of laws governing minors' access to, possession, and use of tobacco products to include vapor products. House Bill 4115 expands the applicability of laws governing minors' access to, possession, and use of tobacco products to include vapor products. It also extends the applicability of laws governing adult use of tobacco products in public places to include vapor products, meaning Oregon Clean Indoor Air Act, public meetings, places of employment, hospitals. Expands the prohibition against smoking in motor vehicles with a child present to include vaping. Declares an emergency and is effective on passage.
Great, thank you very much. Representative Olson, and is Representative Barnhart here?
Yes, he is.
Oh, great. Thank you, Representative. Will you come up and talk about your bill? Welcome to our committee, Representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Phil Barnhart. I'm the state representative from House District 11, and I thought we were going to have Ledge Counsel come and explain some of the differences.
And he's right there. Why don't we have
And it
him
would be
on up?
wonderful if he could do that before I give my testimony.
Sure, that would be great.
Chair Tomei, Representative Olson, Vice Chair Gomberg. Excuse me if my voice is a little cracking. I got a little bit of a sore throat today, so
Thank you.
So I was asked to come down and briefly describe the drafting process for the bills as well as the distinct differences between the two because they are very similar and because of certain issues that have arisen since the drafting.
State your name for the record, please.
Excuse me. Name for the record is Mark Mayer from Ledge Counsel. Thank you. So both bills do two things with respect to vapor products as well as statutes that currently prohibit the use and consumption of tobacco products by minors. They both define vapor product. The definitions are very similar. I'll go over that in just a minute. And they both update statutes related to the consumption and exposure of tobacco products by minors so that those statutes equally apply to vapor products. House Bill 4115 also, as the summary was just read, updates those statutes related to the use of tobacco products in public places, so they also equally apply to vapor products. And that would be the major distinction between the two. It was mentioned that I should it was requested that I should mention that in preparing the bills, I did look at every statute that contains the terms tobacco product, tobacco, cigarette, and smoking in order to ensure that we would update all the appropriate statutes. Statutes that were not added to the bill and not amended into the bill were either unrelated to the subject matter, and in some cases they involved programs that involved federal monies, and we didn't want to amend those statutes for obvious reasons. Didn't want to jeopardize any kind of funding mechanism. And finally, it was requested that I mention that none of the statutes are amended in any way except for the fact that they add vapor products so that the statute equally applies. There are no other substantive changes in these bills, as you can see if you just read through it. And then finally, it was requested that I go through the definition for vapor product. I think as most people here know, if a court needs to discern legislative intent, it's going to use the PGE and State versus Gaines rubric in order to look at legislative intent. Under that methodology, the court is going to look at the plain meaning of the text and the context of the statute first, and then it'll look at the legislative record. plain meaning will be discerned by looking to the dictionary in order to discern what the legislature meant when it incorporated certain words into the text of a statute. So the first, in both bills, vapor product has two meanings. First, vapor product is an electronic device designed to heat nicotine solutions and other solutions for the purpose of producing a vapor to be inhaled by the user of the device. Second, a vapor product is a nicotine solution in any form designed to be used with such a device. There's an important caveat there involving a -1 amendment, which I'll discuss at the very end of my testimony. So if you look at the dictionary and you look at the components of the definition, design means to have as a purpose or to devise for a specific function or end. Solution means a homogeneous mixture, not necessarily liquid. Vapor means diffused matter. And so if you kind of string these different definitions together, you could come up with vapor product is an electronic device that has as its purpose the heating of homogeneous mixtures, including homogeneous nicotine mixtures, for the purpose of producing diffused matter to be inhaled. Thank you, Representative Olson. And then for the second piece of the definition for both bills, a vapor product is also the nicotine solution itself that you use with the device. Now, the -1 amendments to House Bill 4115, they remove the nicotine components of that definition, so a vapor product would then be any solution that you use with the device. That was an important distinction that Representative Barnhart wanted me to make about the -1s. Is there anything else, Chair Tomei?
Any questions of Ledge Council? Thank you so much for coming. Would you stay in the audience, please, in case other questions do come up? Can you do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Is that exactly?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate the distinction, because I think it's important for the committee to understand this distinction between the two bills. And I will say that we have been working hard trying to write a bill that is simple in its effect, even though it gets fairly complex in the drafting because of the way in which our tobacco laws are scattered through the statutes. And so really what this bill does is it catches up to the technology that's already in place in our society. It doesn't break any new ground. It simply applies the rules we already have to smoking, to these new products that other people have told me are not covered by our existing statute, even though many of the effects are the same. Now, the key difference, I think, between these two bills is that while both bills restrict the sale to minors, actually prohibit the sale to minors, the 4115 also prohibits the use of these devices and the solutions that you heat in them in places where smoking is not permitted now, so it's easy to apply. Public health officials have told us that one of the biggest benefits of this bill is the addition to the Clean Air Act, because it would reduce the behavior of modeling to young adults and children. I think everyone in this room agrees that we should not encourage or provide for smoking or the use of these products by adolescents and young adults to the extent that we possibly can manage that because of the addictive nature of the substances, because we're dealing with growing brains, because we're dealing with growing bodies, and these young people are particularly susceptible to the addiction process that takes place. The other things that we know about the addictive process is that it isn't simply a prohibition that works. What works are a whole constellation of things, one of which is the lack of a normative situation that allows people to see the use of these products in normal situations and which therefore would encourage them to think this is cool, this is wonderful, this is something I ought to get involved in. The reality is that anyone who wants cigarettes can find them. even despite the fact that it's illegal for young people to get them or use them. Anyone, young people, if they want them, can find e-cigarettes. The task for the legislature and the task for our society as a whole is to prevent the addictive process by doing a whole bunch of other things, one of which is covered particularly by this bill 4115. Data analyzed by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention show that the number of adult Americans who have used e-cigarettes has quadrupled from 2009 to 2010. It also showed that from the National Youth Tobacco Survey that e-cigarette use doubled among middle and high school students in 2011-2012. Nicotine harm reduction should also be questioned, as e-cigarettes perpetuate the use of nicotine by allowing users and tobacco smokers to get from one cigarette to the next when tobacco users might otherwise quit. You use cigarettes in the morning, at work you use e-cigarettes, at the restaurant you use e-cigarettes, at the waiting room at the airport you use e-cigarettes, and then you can get back to your regular smoke once you get home at night. And so we're perpetuating the use of these devices. Additionally, false claims of safety have enticed those who have already quit to start again. I had a conversation just last week with somebody who told me that they used to smoke cigarettes, that they had stopped and had not used nicotine at all for a time, and then began using it again, believing that e-cigarettes were safe. The health impacts of these devices...
So, Representative, I just want to clarify, are you saying that that person started using e-cigarettes?
Yes, after having stopped using regular cigarettes for a period of time. And so these are beguiling devices that we do not want to encourage as a matter of public policy. And I think the other obvious point has to do with the health impact, not just on the person who's using them, but also on everybody else in the area. The reason why we have the Oregon Indoor Clean Air Act is to protect third parties, second parties, I guess, people who are not using these materials from being exposed to them directly. People at work, people in classrooms who are there to study, people in the airport waiting room, waiting to get on an airplane and have to be there because that's where they have to be in order to get on the airplane, and on and on and on. These devices have chemicals that can negatively affect air quality for non-users. Imagine yourself in one of these places that I mentioned. People believe that e-cigarettes are a safe alternative to smoking, partly because of the advertising that's been done by tobacco companies and others. Although the Food and Drug Administration has warned that e-cigarettes contain, quote, carcinogens and toxic chemicals such as diethylene glycol, an ingredient used in antifreeze, close quote. The nicotine effects, I think, are pretty obvious, and I could go into those in detail, but I'll simply say that the December 2013, just a couple of months ago, a study from Roswell Park, one of the most respected cancer institutes in the world, talks about the nicotine effects on blood pressure, heart rate, vasoconstriction, blood vessel damage, stress, adverse effects on the brain and lung development in children, the effect on pregnant women, with the increased risk of babies born with birth defects, and on and on and on. Some of these, at least, can be mitigated for people who do not use these products directly by restricting them, by restricting the use to areas other than the ones that we regularly post as non-smoking. You're going to hear some things about how, you'll probably hear some things today about how these products can be used in tobacco harm reduction. I urge very clear caution as you listen to this testimony and as you look at it. No e-cigarette has been approved by the FDA for therapeutic use. If companies wanted to submit them for evaluation for therapeutic use, they could, but to date, not one e-cigarette company has chosen to go through the steps to be regulated as a tobacco cessation product. In 2009, the Oregon Attorney General successfully sued two companies, Cetera and Smoking Everywhere, notice the name, because they were marketing their products as safe in general and safer than conventional cigarettes. But neither of these businesses was able to substantiate their claims. In fact, there was no indication that these were not harmful, that they did not have harmful carcinogenic agreements or were free of tar and other chemical substances that are produced in traditional cigarettes. Lab testing by the FDA found that tobacco-specific nitrosamines, which are known carcinogens in humans, were found. They also tested for ethylene glycol, an ingredient used in antifreeze, as I mentioned earlier, known to be highly toxic to humans, and they found these substances. The stipulated judgment that the Attorney General was able to obtain, and now remember, stipulated judgment means that the company agreed to it, with Smoking Everywhere, included an express admission by the company that they'd violated Oregon's Unlawful Trade Practices Act, and they paid $95,000 to the department. My suspicion is to pay for the departmental costs in prosecuting them. Smoking Everywhere and Soterra were permanently barred from doing business in the state as a result of these claims. I would also note that there's very strong support around the state. Benton County, Clatsop County, Deschutes County, Hood River County, and Umatilla County have already passed smoke-free policies that explicitly include e-cigarettes. From the standpoint of uniformity, it's important to also ban the use of these devices for other substances. In the first place, we know that it's very easy to mix any number of flavorings. One of the companies we interviewed indicate they have 300 different products which contain all kinds of different scents or flavorings, and any of them can be mixed with nicotine to whatever level that you would like. So the only way you can actually control these devices in non-smoking areas is not only to ban the nicotine substance, but also any other substance. So in effect, what you're doing is banning the use of the device in a non-smoking area. Also, for the same reason, the sale to minors need to include the devices and all of the different things that are designed to be used to burn in those products. Some of them are in cartridges. Some of them come in a little bottle with a stopper and an eyedropper to place on the burning element in the device. They come in a variety of different ways. I suggest that the definition we have chosen here is designed not only to apply to the e-cigarettes that are available today, but also to the ones that are likely to be developed in the future as tobacco companies and others engage us in an arms race to get around our rules. It's very important to understand that their business model demands, they won't say this, but it's clear, their business model demands that they are able to addict a certain percentage, to victimize a certain percentage of our young people every year in order to stay in business long term. People who don't start using these products until they're age 22 or 23 never become addicts, or almost never become addicts. It's important for them to work on the younger people. If we allow use of these devices in non-smoking areas, not only do we expose everyone else as a victim to these devices, but we also make it normative for kids to do that. Now, I want to say one of the things this bill does not do. I've heard around the building, and so have you, about people who have been smoking all their lives, and all of a sudden they've discovered these devices, and they're starting to use them instead. And anecdotally, they'll tell you that they feel better and they don't cough as much, and those kinds of things. I'll point out that the studies that have been done in this area are purely anecdotal at this point. We don't have any good studies that demonstrate that it actually leads to health improvement. And of course, they're still addicted to nicotine. But this bill does not restrict them from using e-cigarettes. It doesn't restrict the sale of e-cigarettes or the chemical or the material that goes in them to adults. Adults can still do that. If you are a chain smoker and you want to reduce your smoke, the other materials that go into your lungs, and you want to try using e-cigarettes to do that, you can do that. Now, I will point out to those who are sitting behind me who may be tempted to do this, that there's no evidence that we know now that suggests this actually helps people to stop using nicotine. But if you wanted to do it, this bill doesn't prevent you from doing that. All it does is that the people who cannot smoke now in no smoking areas would also not be allowed to use these devices in no smoking areas. Madam Chair, members of the committee, I urge you to adopt this bill and send it on to the floor and then to the Senate. This bill has an emergency clause. The numbers of shops that sell these materials, there were 6 shops before 2009, and now there are 87 that sell primarily these kinds of devices and the substance, mixing the substances that go in them. 7 shops were registered with the Secretary of State last month in January. It is important to get this done now, to get it done quickly. Every month we wait adds to the number of young addicts, young victims of these substances. Every month we wait. So it's important to get it done now. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm ready to
for
answer any
coming.
questions.
Great. Any quick questions? We need to move on because we have a lot of people who signed up to testify. Any quick questions? Okay. I think we won't be passing any legislation today, maybe. But if we need to, we'll be calling you back, Representative.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Yes. Representative Olson. Can people stay after, we're supposed to go until 4:45? Can you stay until 5? Pardon?
You want me to say?
No, I really don't want you. Everybody but Representative Gilliland.
That dealt with electronic cigarettes being known as e-cigarettes to minors. And what this bill here, 4073, does, and would join 28 other states, basically would just prohibit the sale of e-cigarettes to minors. That's how simple this is. I have some individuals who are behind me that I would love to have share with you a little bit some examples of what the machine itself is. Justin Newman, I think, and some others might be coming up, but also there are some others too, since Representative Barnhart alluded to the issue about no evidence for what the impact of changing from tobacco cigarettes to e-cigarettes creates for health. There are some members that are here that will tell you personal life stories of what it has done for them. But what are e-cigarettes? E-cigarettes are a battery-operated product designed to deliver nicotine to the user by heating liquid nicotine derived from tobacco plants along with flavors and other chemicals into a vapor that the user inhales. As reported by the U.S. Surgeon General and U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the nicotine found in e-cigarettes is highly addictive, has immediate biochemical effects on the brain and body at any dosage, and is toxic to the high doses. So, I mean, if you kind of get why it's kind of important to move forward to want to prohibit this. You should also know that of the individuals that are retailers around the state that I have had conversation with regarding this that sells this, they have already created a personal policy of their own not to sell to minors. So, and I really appreciate that effort from them and their consideration toward that. They'll be coming here and they'll be supporting what this bill is all about. So, yeah, you can read the rest of what I have there. I think my bill, 4073, is fairly simple. It's one of those things that we need to move on quickly with. It does create a violation. I mean, it moves it into the portion of the statute which is on this third page that deals with violations for endangering the welfare of a minor, and it makes it a Class C violation.
All right, thank you. Questions? Yes, Representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Olson, thank you for your testimony today, and I apologize for not getting you this question in advance, but I think you have a unique perspective on this one particular subject area. We recently passed legislation that prohibits people from smoking in cars with children present. And with your police background, I'm wondering if you might be able to comment on how an officer might be able to tell the difference between currently illegal smoking in vehicles versus currently legal smoking of electronic cigarettes that appear the same.
That's a great question, Madam Chair and Representative Gomberg, great question. For one thing, the folks that are going to be coming up and testifying for me and the example, there are no studies about the impact of what the vapor or just that small moment of what that creates versus that of secondary hand smoke, does, and which you can easily detect inside a motor vehicle in that compressed compartment. I mean, I've had the opportunity to witness and experience the vapor itself. It doesn't stay long. So a crucial piece is you're going to have to determine whether or not, in fact, that did occur. And then here's the other thing, too, you're going to have to consider. Was there any nicotine in the substance itself? Because a lot of people are not using nicotine as they purchase it, and you're going to hear that.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, if I can just restate my question, because I just want to make sure the representative understands. A police officer from a reasonable distance, can they tell the difference when they're observing a vehicle go by?
No. That's really difficult. See, you're going to have to be, basically in a situation like that, you're going to almost have to be side by side traveling down a multiple lane road to see that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Representative Olson. We have a lot of people who are signed up to testify. Several people are supportive of Representative Olson's bill. I don't think anybody has testified or is interested in testifying against it. We have several people who are more than 100 miles away, and I would remind you that that would be maybe Roseburg. I mean, Eugene would only be 50 miles south, and so we're talking probably about Roseburg, if somebody can help me. And so our stated policy is to invite people to come up who are 100 miles or more away, because we'll hear as many people as we can, and I will stay here, and probably Representative Olson, as long as it takes to make sure everybody who is here to sign up will have a chance to testify.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may,
Yes.
one of the first people, I think, folks, Justin Newman would be a really good one to have up first. He's from Eugene, even though I realize that's not within the 100 miles, but he can really give you a great perspective. And I think a lot of the others that are supportive of this would, be able to tag in on that.
Okay, so I'd be glad to have Justin come up here. And so I want to make sure there's Sarah Hartstedt? Hartstein. And Sarah, where are you from? Corvallis. I don't think Corvallis is 100 miles away, is it? No.
No.
Okay. Let's see. Tim Churchill? Medford, it's certainly you. Come on up, Tim. Dalton Barstad?
Yes, dear.
And where are you from, Dalton? That's not 100 miles. Sorry. Sorry. Taylor Jones.
It's not 100 miles.
Okay, all right. So we'll put you in line with other people. We have Justin Newman, Travis McDonald. Travis? Where are you from, Tar?
Hawaii and Washington.
Washington State doesn't count. No, you have to be in line with other people. Sorry. Okay, so there was somebody who lived 100. Medford. Pardon? Oh,
Tim? Yeah.
Okay. And who was the other person?
Justin, right here.
Justin, come on up, Justin. Okay,
And
then we'll
Madam
take
Chair,
people.
this gentleman's raising his-
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'm here to testify from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay, we will, come on up. There's 3 chairs. All right. So I'm going to ask you to make your testimony short. We have about 25 minutes or less, so if you can make your testimony short, that would be great. Go ahead.
My name is Justin Newman. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Distribution for a Eugene and Springfield-based company called Emerald Vapors. We sell vaporizer type products and solutions with and without nicotine. I'm here today to support House Bill 4073 on Andy Olson's side,
Okay.
or sorry, Representative Olson's side, to ban the sale of liquids and vaporizers to children, to those under the age of 18.
Okay, all right.
We believe the other bills go too far. There's just not enough evidence to support their implementation, and believe that more time is needed for that research. So we've also taken a proactive, I wanted to point this out, we've taken a proactive approach to the underage vaping by posting exterior signs as well as interior signs, implementing card verification in our stores, and educating public. So we do believe it should be an adult decision and not available for children.
And if you have written materials, you're welcome to give it to staff, and we'll make sure it gets to everybody. It looks like you have some written materials.
You know, I do. It has quite a few notes.
Well, I'm going to...
I don't know if you
because I
could
have
read
so
my
many people
handwriting.
here. If you could just briefly summarize what your salient points are, that would be great.
Okay. Basically, we're here to help implement a policy that we've already proactively implemented ourselves. And we think that Representative Olson's bill does a good job of that. But the other bills go too far. And I don't think I can say it any better than that. So,
That was great. Thank you for doing that.
thank you.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair.
And we need your name, please.
Okay, Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for listening to us today. I'd like to
Give me your name,
applaud.
please. Your name?
I'm sorry. My name is Tim Churchill. I'm from Medford. And I'd like to applaud Mr. Olson on the 4073 to keep that away from minors. I work for EC Blend Company, who is a manufacturer of the e-liquids. And we employ over 120 people there in Medford. This is a very fast-growing industry, and you guys have a lot of work ahead of you, I'm sure, on deciding the right path to take. We support your focus on the welfare of the general public and for minors. However, we oppose the measure 4115 because it does restrict a lot of the retail stores from offering the product. The customer has to be able to try this product. It's an item-specific stores, most of the vape shops. It's not, if you want to go and learn about vaping or try the products, you really need to test them. And this would have a negative economic effect on sales, as at least 75% of those sales would come from the trials of the product. We would like to be defined as an exemption in this legislation, if at all possible, and we feel that there would be no excess exposure to the general public from vaping in the stores.
Do you understand what he's saying about an exception?
I do not.
Could you
From the
explain that
from
to
the
us?
standalone stores in the bill 4115, they were talking about not restricting vaping in the stores
Okay,
unless
got
it was a standalone store.
Okay.
That seems to be a
That's
little
in current law
excessive.
regarding cigarettes, so, yeah, tobacco, great. Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Chair, Committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify. For the record, I am Dr. Joel Nitskin. I am a public health physician from New Orleans, Louisiana. I've been active in tobacco control since the 1980s, and since 2007, very active in the arena of tobacco harm reduction, and after that, e-cigarettes. Most of the work I have done in this area, I've done on behalf of the American Association of Public Health Physicians. But lacking the financial resources to travel to try to address these issues, I've had to seek additional outside support to make such testimony possible, and for that purpose, I've established a relationship with the R Street Institute.
And what is that?
The R Street Institute is a Washington, D.C. libertarian think tank that is dedicated to free market solutions to problems. They are moderate in their views. They fully respect the role of government in regulating industry to protect health and protect the environment, but they're very concerned about cases and instances where the governmental agencies go well beyond the regulations needed to protect the health of the public. And in their mind, the e-cigarette issue appears to be one of those issues. And for that reason, they're supporting the work that I do and others in the public health community that share these views. Very briefly, I've prepared two handouts which should already have been distributed to the committee, one with my testimony today and the second in our street paper making the case for tobacco harm reduction. Very briefly, we fully support Bill 4073 restricting sales to minors because nicotine per se can be harmful to the adolescent brain and should be restricted. Not only do we encourage support of that bill, we would urge the legislature to up the age cutoff from 18 to 21 because this tendency to propensity to addiction probably lasts until age 25 or 26. And we can get a much bigger portion of it and get this out of the high schools by upping the age to age 21. With regard to the prohibition of e-cigarettes in no-smoking areas, we think that that would be a damaging step to take from a public health perspective, and let me explain why. First of all, the studies have been completed. E-cigarette vapor as exhaled by the user does not contain any toxic chemical substances that are detectable above background levels in indoor environments. No, they are not. It's not pure water vapor. There are trace quantities of carcinogens there, but the quantities are exceedingly low. The reason for the...
To sum up,
Pardon?
I'm going to ask you to sum up your testimony. I know we have printed materials, and we will look through that, but we have a lot of people here who are wanting to testify.
Let me tell you why I'm here and why I've dedicated my energy to this. The government, the federal agencies talk about 480,000 deaths a year due to tobacco products in the United States. All of those deaths are due to a single product, the combustible cigarette. There are not enough deaths from all other tobacco products combined for the federal agencies to track. Since 2004, the numbers of smokers in the United States and the numbers of deaths by the best CDC estimates have been stable. Tobacco harm reduction, which means simply informing smokers that they could reduce their risk of potentially fatal cancer, heart, and lung disease by 98% or better, is the only feasible policy option we have for reducing the number of smokers in the United States and reducing those deaths. 4115 is basically intended to communicate the idea that the e-cigarettes are as harmful as cigarettes because in the tobacco control world, the mantra has always been a tobacco-free society.
Dr. Nitchin, I'm going to give you 30 seconds.
Okay. If they would simply change that mantra to a smoke-free society, they would be in line with the best of science. I would welcome the opportunity to meet with those who are supportive of 4115, urge them to review the material and my handouts.
Thank you,
And
Dr. Nitchin. I really
urge
appreciate it.
deferral on this issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're suspending this just for a minute because we're doing a work session on House Bill 4038.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, House Bill 438, which was carried over from Monday, we have received no fiscal impact statement. So there's no revenue impact, no fiscal impact on the Dash 3 amendment, and the committee would be able to
Send it to the floor, right? Great.
That's correct. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move to adopt the Dash 3 amendments to House Bill 4038.
Representative Olson moves to adopt the Dash 3 amendments dated 2/4/14 to the House Bill 4038. Any discussion? Any objection? If not, the amendment is adopted. Representative.
Madam Chair, I move House Bill 4038 as amended to the floor with the due pass recommendation.
Representative Olson moves House Bill 4038 as amended to the floor with the due pass recommendation. Any discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Representative Gallegos?
Aye.
Representative Gelser?
Aye.
Representative Gilliam?
Aye.
Representative Kenny Guyer?
Aye.
Representative Leininger?
Aye.
Representative Wisnet?
Aye.
Representative Whitsett?
Excused?
Vice Chair Gomberg?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Aye.
Chair Tomei?
Aye. Passes. So, Representative Wisnet, would you co-carry
I
this?
think since our work with Representative Nathanson, it was her bill originally 2007. So
Okay, terrific. Thank you for all the work you've done. Thank you so much. Good job. Okay, we have another work session?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, House Bill 4028 is also ready for so inclined. That measure was waiting for a revenue statement. One has come in as indeterminate on the Dash 1.
And so it doesn't need to go to Ways and Means, right?
That's correct, and we have permission not to send it there.
I'm going to open up the work session on House Bill 4028. Representative?
Okay, Madam Chair, I move to adopt the Dash 1 amendments to House Bill 4028.
Representative Olson moves to adopt the Dash 1 amendments dated 2/4/14. Any discussion? Any objection? So adopted.
And Madam Chair, I move House Bill 4028 as amended to the floor with the due pass recommendation and that as a subsequent referral to the Committee on Ways and Means
Be rescinded.
to be rescinded.
Representative Olson moves House Bill 4028 as amended to the floor with the due pass recommendation and that the subsequent referral to the Committee on Ways and Means be rescinded. Any discussion? Any objection? Oh, no, we've got to call the roll.
Representative Gallegos?
Aye.
Representative Gelser?
Aye.
Representative Gilliam?
No.
Representative Kenny Guyer?
Aye.
Representative Leininger?
Aye.
Representative Wisnet?
Aye.
Representative Whitsett?
Excused.
Vice Chair Gomberg?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Aye.
Chair Tomei?
Aye. This bill passes. Thank you so much, committee.
Can we recount that?
Great.
That's not.
Good. All right, now we open up the hearing on House Bills 4073 and 4015. Oh, Representative Kennemer and I will carry that bill together. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going back. Actually, I'm going to call everybody who lived more than 100 miles away, right? So I'm going to call up Bill Cross. And, oh, he's left. But he will be back, I think. No? Bill Cross has a statement. We'll call him at a later time. So, we're going to hear from Karen Gerard. Karen? Karen. You guys are excused. Thank you so much, yes. Oh, I see, okay. So we have Timothy Schultz, Travis Brisbane, Sean Bowers, and next, we'll have those three people here, please. Next, we will have Sam Tung, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ami Devereaux? Terrific, you'll be next, and Robert Ward. Okay, and if you could just state what you're here to say to us very quickly so everybody will have a chance to speak, I'd appreciate it. And state your name, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name's Timothy Schultz. I'm here as a couple of hats. First off, I'm a user of electronic cigarettes.
Okay.
I was a smoker for 25 years. For the last 5 or 10 of that, a pack and a half to 2 packs a day. Over a year ago, I quit smoking due to using vaping products. I have noticed my health improved significantly as a result of that. I know some of the science is up for question, but I know what it's done for me. I don't hack, I don't wheeze, I smell better, I taste better, and it totally enriched my life. And I know I'd have family members that have died as a result of tobacco that would be alive today if these products were available back then. I'm also here as a shop manager. I manage a shop in Portland that sells these products. I can tell you that I think the emergency measure is a little extreme. Every shop that I know of in this state already restricts the sales of these products to anyone who's an adult. I know in my shop and every shop in Portland, we card on entry. We absolutely will not sell to any minors. We don't encourage that at all. I also feel that some of the wording in 4115, if it were to be enacted, I'm against it. But I also feel that some of the wording on restricting shops or sampling in shops, except ones that are tobacco certified, right now there aren't any shops that would even qualify under that certification, mainly because they're a standalone building. And to enact that and then say that the tobacco shops are allowed to sample, where somebody is going to then be forced to be in that tobacco environment when they're trying to save themselves from being around tobacco, is totally unfair.
Okay, thank you very much
You're
for
welcome.
coming to testify. Appreciate that.
My name is Sean Bowers. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee. I'm a vaping product user. I've used e-cigarettes over the last couple of years, but I've found a great deal of difficulty in successfully switching to the e-cigarette and away from the cigarette until I realized that there were such things as stores that offered sampling and an environment that was welcoming to the use of e-cigarettes and vaporizers. I was stuck using those little e-cigarettes that you found at 7-Eleven, which I never liked. But then I found that there were flavors and there was a community of people in support of each other quitting smoking, in support of the hobby that's found here, and there were places in which we could go that we could test flavors, in which we could build community and support each other in trying to get away from cigarettes. I know in the last 2 months that I've been completely cigarette free, I've already begun to taste again. I've already been able to breathe. I can breathe a lot better. I can taste. I can smell. I can exert myself without gasping, without fainting. I'm actually able to work for long periods of time, to whereas before I could not do any exerted physical activity.
Thank you so much for coming to
Thank you.
testify.
My name is Travis Brisbane, and I just want to say that I'm proof that these work. I was a smoker for 16 years. I started when I was 12 and recently quit. Been smoke-free for about a year, and I fully support Vice Chair Olson's 4073. I do not believe that minors should have access to these products. However, the 4115 restricting the use in the shops and at our vape meets where we get together and talk about these products and new things, restricting that will be, in my opinion, detrimental to a lot of the success that comes with using electronic cigarettes. You were talking earlier about gambling addiction and having programs for people to quit. Well, these vape shops and our meetings with each other, that's our program to stay off of tobacco. Oh, that's cigarettes. And if you take that away, I don't know, the health issues will definitely take a blow.
Thank you so much for coming to testify. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So I called up several other people.
Thank you. I just had surgery. Sorry. This
Thank you
means
for
that much to
coming.
me to be here.
Thank you. That would trump 100 miles.
I just had spinal cord surgery for the third time due to an injury not smoking related. My name's Tommy Devereaux Earl. I am also a registered nurse and have been for more than a decade. I worked in ER and trauma and firsthand, repeatedly, have seen the effects of smoking. I've held family members when they've grieved through the loss of someone dying of COPD who, in the waiting room, was wanting to smoke a cigarette, or the patient that begs you to come down to smoke a cigarette. And in that, I was also smoking. I thought I was a closet smoker. Now I know there's not such thing. Let me tell you, I've vaped for 5 years, longer than most here. I searched and searched and searched for something and finally found something, and it works. I remember, having a code, a respiratory code, and then I'd be on break and I'd go out to my car and try to suck down 5 cigarettes, even though I just watched someone die. I couldn't get through that. Finally, I found this, and then through social media, which I have over 400 Twitter followers and 5,000 Facebook followers, and I did a lot to organize the group that's here today, because we have a fellowship, and that fellowship is through vaping. If you limit how we are able to get together, I will tell you, I have a vape meet in Hillsborough. We meet at Coyotes once a month in the banquet room, and last meeting I had 75 vapors. That is 75 people not smoking. And more come, people come in, people come out. I can explain it to you. I mean, the research we do have research, actually. The Burston papers, I don't know if anybody has mentioned those. Let me pull it up. Sorry.
Could you send that to us, please?
I will send it.
That
yeah.
would be great, because we have so many people here to testify.
I will send that, but
that would be great.
Let me just say, this is a grassroots movement. This is not big tobacco. This is not big farm. We have a movement that started with the people, and we designed a way to get off of cigarettes ourselves. This is my personal nicotine device. I made it cute. I'm a girl, and I like it that way. It's not appealing to a teenager. I also make my own liquid, and I have written an ebook on how to make it, and I have for years helped people learn how to make their own. We know what is in it. There is the Burston papers. Igor Burston, the Drexel University School of Public Health, did a study based on over 9,000 observations of e-liquid and vapor and found no apparent concern for bystanders exposed to e-cig vapor, even under the worst conditions.
And I appreciate it if you would send that to us.
I will.
Appreciate that.
This is my device.
Okay.
There is a battery and a coil that I make, and wick, which could be cotton. I disseminated through the group that we would like to be respectful and not vape. So I will not vape here for you. But a 1-second demonstration, I will just show you that it is just vapor.
I've seen that.
We did also
You've got to
talk
turn it
with the state troopers out front while we were vaping, and they were actually very interested and nice to us and wanted to see what we were doing. All it takes is an explanation.
Thank you so much for this condition. We really appreciate it.
Thank
Be
you.
sure and
I
send us that
I would like to be available if you ever have any further questions or work from a citizen in the committee, please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and Committee. My name is Sam Tung. I work at Fat Boy Vapors in Gresham, and I have a webcast internet show called Full Frontal Nerdity, where we talk about vaping culture. I'm also quite terrified to be here. I've never been in a situation like this, so please excuse me.
You're doing great.
4073, I fully support. This is not something I want to sell to kids. I don't think that vaping should be geared towards children, and I don't think it is currently. People say because of the flavors that are produced, that it's meant for children, but I like cake. And as I recall, there's a kind of Smirnoff, which is a vodka brand, that is cake. And liquor doesn't get talked to about advertising to children as much as e-cigarettes have currently. Sampling the product is how I get people to stop smoking. My mother is dying. She's dying of cancer. And, pardon me, she won't switch. And I know for a fact, I've talked to the doctors around her, that she would feel better and breathe easier if she would. But her addiction has been so ongoing that it will not be something she can get away from. I couldn't get her started on this. And if you restrict the ability of other people to get their family and their friends to stop smoking cigarettes, which are proven to kill you, and to start vaping, which is proven to not kill you, the health detriment is going to be incredible. We're dealing major blows to tobacco just by doing this, and I want to keep dealing blows. I want tobacco gone. I want tobacco out of my system, and I want it out of everyone else's system as well. Thank you, piping guy.
Thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I just want to say one more thing really fast. Nicotine is not only derived from tobacco. It is derived, we use it, a pharmaceutical grade nicotine that is derived from many sources.
And if you could send that to us, that would be really
including tomatoes, bell peppers, that all of those contain nicotine as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Adele Adams, you think?
I don't know how many.
Is Adele here? And Sarah?
My right arm.
Can I get a Travis, McDonald?
Yeah, after these
After
two
these
women, right. Sarah, where were you from? Hawaii?
My business is in Washington, but I
Oh, Washington. Okay, all right. Okay, you can be next. Okay, and if you could just state your name and just start right on talking. My committee is being great to stay here. I appreciate it.
So Chair Tamaya and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of Bill 4115. My name is Adele Adams, and I'm here representing Multnomah County, working in the Tobacco Prevention and Education Program with Multnomah County Health Department. I want to express the county's deep concern about the vapor products which are currently in use in our communities. These products are being packaged, advertised, and marketed particularly to youth. Yet these products are not regulated. There's little research on the long-term effects of health. For that reason, Multnomah County supports House Bill 4115 to help protect the youth from accessing these products. We appreciate legislators' determination to ban the sale of e-cigarettes to minors, and so we strongly support House Bill 4115 because it requires e-cigarettes to be included in the Indoor Clean Air Act, and we believe that that's a critical piece. Without that inclusion, we're creating an environment where vaping is considered an acceptable behavior and could become a normative youth culture for youth. Here's what we do know, and I won't repeat quite a bit of this because it's been talked about quite a bit today as far as the different studies that have been done and the carcinogenic toxins that are in it. So I won't go into that as much. But current smoking rates are down in Oregon from 57% among our 11th graders and 74% among our 8th graders since 1996. Yet the use of e-cigarettes by teens and adults is on the rise, and potentially creating addictions to nicotine among our youth, deepening the addiction for current smokers and renewing the addiction for former smokers. Again, talking about how these rates have doubled in the year of 2011 and 2012 in our youth. 11 flavors such as strawberry, chocolate, cotton candy, and mint, and in packaging that are smaller in size and appeal to young people. We deeply are concerned about this product as being a genie in a bottle. The bill will help protect our youth, including e-cigarettes, and the Indoor Clean Air Act will help create an environment that discourages their use.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
And if you have written material, we'll make sure people get it.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. I want to be sure I understand. Are you talking on behalf of Multnomah County through some action by the commissioners?
Correct. Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Tomei, Vice Chairs Olson and Goldberg, and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Hartstein, and I am from the Benton County Health Department. I am here to testify on behalf of the Coalition of Local Health Officials, the Association of Oregon Counties, and the Association of Oregon Community Mental Health Programs in support of House Bill 4115 with the -5 amendments. Electronic smoking devices, or e-cigarettes, are understudied and unregulated, as you've heard. Smokeless at this time does not necessarily mean that they are harmless. The actual nicotine and chemical content of e-cigarettes does not always match the label, as you've heard today. The FDA analyzed samples of e-cigarettes and found that they contained nicotine, even though they were labeled as nicotine-free. And that goes for different levels of nicotine as well. Some that were marked as high were actually low in content. Some that were marked as low were actually higher. The FDA also found that samples of e-cigarettes contain chemicals known to cause cancer and birth defects in the vapor. I want to also add that e-cigarettes have also been used as a device for other drugs. For example, hash oil is now commercially available for use in e-cigarettes in Washington and Colorado. It's no surprise that the use of e-cigarettes by youth is on the rise. E-cigarettes are advertised in candy and fruit flavors that you've heard about today, and they lack the legal age requirement that we're trying to address. Adele mentioned that youth rates have doubled, and I will also mention that 1 in 5 youth that are e-cigarette users are not conventional tobacco users. So that means that there's a possibility that they are creating a new addiction. And if you remember, 90% of smokers began their nicotine addiction before leaving their teens. So the issue is really about initiation.
If you could sum it up, the material will be fine.
Yes, cigarette users are not. House Bill 4115 and an possibility that they are creating a new nicotine content and prohibit use of electronic smoking devices indoors no matter what the content. The Coalition of Local Health Officials, the Association of Oregon Counties, and the Association of Oregon Community Mental Health Program urge you to support this important bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you both. Come on, is Caleb Hayes still here? And David Glenn, Brennan Venturi. Yeah, if you'd wait just a minute after this group. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Travis McDonald. Thank you, Madam Chair and the representatives. I am a resident of Hawaii. I'm representing Hawaiian Vapors. The reason I'm here is I actually called some of these guys to come talk about wholesaling, and they told me about this. I got in my car and I drove here. Because it is like...
Hawaii?
What's that?
From Hawaii?
No, from Washington. Because I live there. Yeah, it's great. It's Back to the Future and everything. Vapor approved. But, by hearing her story, it is a tight community. they say, oh, strawberry, this flavor, that flavor, because kids grow to be adults. Everybody loves those flavors. You know what I mean? How can you say, oh, well, kids are going to like it? Well, you were a kid once. Of course, you still like strawberry. Why does that dictate the difference between, if you can vape it? Smoking cigarettes has 4,000 carcinogens. I'm not going to go into any of those numbers. You have all that information. I'm just giving you a testimony that this saved my life. Both my dads, my stepdad and my dad, died from cancer. They would be alive today. And this was just 3.5 years ago. But I didn't know about it. And guess what I did after they died? I smoked a cigarette. So I put myself in that same situation. And now every single day when I give someone this, whether they're 21 or 18, because they got to be 18, right? So 18, or they're 70 years old, I feel that I'm helping those people every single time. And when their kids bring their mothers and their fathers in, I'm helping those people every single time. I've sold advertising, I've sold all these things that maybe helps businesses, stuff like that. But now I help people every single day. And if you take that away from these people, what do you think they're going to do? Go back to smoking cigarettes? And it's not better for them. So thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you for coming. You bet. Thank you for coming. Caleb?
Chair Tomei, members of the committee, my name is Caleb Hayes. I'm here on behalf of NASW, the National Association of Social Workers, and our 1,800 members right here in Oregon. Here to testify in support of both bills at hand, with a preference for 4115. I think it's been made clear by almost everyone in the room that we should ban the sale of these items to minors. Obviously, we agree with that. Additionally, we'd like to see these concepts go a little bit further, and at the risk of going a little bit into the weeds, we would love to see a tax on these, and a tax.
Not in this bill, please.
Recognize. But we would like to see.
Stop while you're ahead.
With that being said, we support Representative Barnhart's concept, mainly because I think it's clear to everyone now that we took too long to ban smoking cigarettes inside. That I think there's a lot of science behind that. Why take that risk again with these products? Why don't we make sure that it's actually safe before we go ahead and let that happen?
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
I'm not with this guy.
I gathered that.
My name is David Glenn. I'm the owner of Fat Boy Vapors in Gresham, Oregon. I was a smoker for 20 years. My whole naval career was one cigarette break after another, I think, and that kind of summed up my whole career sometimes. I was nearly 2 packs a day for the last 10 years that I smoked. My brother bought me this little cigarette-looking thing. It didn't work for me. He said it was vapor at the time. It didn't work. So he took me to a vapor shop up in Lakewood, Washington, called the Vaporium, where I got to sample and try flavors. There were people there who could show me how it worked. I didn't buy a pack of cigarettes after that. I never bought one. 20 years of smoking, I've tried every device to try to quit smoking. I've tried the patch, I've tried Chantix, it put me in the hospital. While I was on active duty, it messed me up. This worked. As for how well my lungs are now, they're still healing. A lot of damage was done from smoking, but I can breathe better than I used to. I really believe in what it's doing. When I got out of the Navy, I started going to college. I couldn't smoke on the campus, so there was a whole parade of people that would go off campus to get their cigarette. So I joined them and started talking about vapor with them because it worked for me. And I converted a lot of those guys to vapors, and they don't smoke now. And I was going to school for business, so I started a business. And I truly believe I'm saving lives. It saved my life. It saved some of my family members' lives. And the restriction that 4115 can put on retail, being able to provide that service and helping people understand what it can do for them, it does require the sampling to get that sensation of this really could work. The underage thing, we card people. Yeah, Representative Olson, his bill prevents that. I think that's great. The 4115, it goes way too far, and there's so much more research that's needed, and that's really all I got to say. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you all for coming to testify. So who have I forgotten here? Sean, is it Bowers? Have I called you yet? Oh, I called you, sir. Come on up. Robert Ward, is he here? Brennan Venturi?
Yes.
Is that you?
Yes.
Okay, you probably signed on both.
I did.
Dalton Barstad? Did I already call you? Okay, terrific. Okay. Then, Tyler Dean? Okay, great.
Due to the brevity, I'm going to allow someone else to go.
Okey-doke, go ahead. Is there anybody who signed, oh, I've got Michael Allen Jones.
Taylor Jones.
Pardon?
Taylor Jones.
Taylor Jones, yeah. Go ahead, come on. Michael Allen Jones? Michael Allen? Is there anybody who signed up that I haven't? Great. Okay. Right?
Allow someone else to go.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Hi. I'm Venturi. I'm Lounge in Portland, Oregon. Also one down in Springfield, Oregon. And I'm here today to be in favor of 4073. I think that we already have signs posted on our door, say 18 plus only. We don't allow anyone under the age of 18 on the premises. We don't believe...
What would be helpful is if you've already heard this testimony, that because there will be a lot of people who own the shops, and you're carding people under 18, right? So that would be great. But if you've got something else new that you'd like us to know, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I do. I'd like to speak on the part of the Clean Air Act.
And that would be 4115, right?
Correct,
Sure, go ahead.
4115. I'm citing a study on behalf of the Society for Research on Nicotine and Tobacco, published by Oxford University. I'm just going to give you the conclusions. I won't...
That would be great. And you can send that to us, and we'll put it in
Of
our
course,
files
yeah.
and look at it. That would be great.
The conclusion is using an electronic cigarette in indoor environments has 10% less harm, less nicotine content in it than conventional cigarettes. Also, if you've ever been around it, obviously there's a massive difference in the odor and just the effect. That's pretty much all I have on 4115.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
My name's Dalton Barstad, Vape Game co-owner and Springfield store operator. Much like other stores, you know, we already card everyone that looks under the age of 25. Only sell to 18 years or older. But on the topic of HB 115, I have to disagree because it feels preemptive. It's not following all the evidence that's been gathered, and will put undue restrictions on our trade, customers, shipping modes, and the industry as a whole. I have a problem saying that electronic cigarettes or personal vaporizers should be deemed the same as cigarettes, especially since there have been several things positive from these, and only the unconfirmed negatives have been focused on. In the short term, there are more relevant studies about to be published that would help us, and we need a chance to create a better organized and appropriate regulation. Not to mention the damage it would do to risking pay cuts and job losses for, I have 12 employees at my shop, Portland and Eugene included. The other stores, other stores, staff around me, or the outlying industries that support us, and as well as the billion-dollar subsection of our economy that this has become. So
Thank you. Thank you for coming to testify. I appreciate that. Go ahead.
My name's Taylor Jones. I have 2 points to make, and I'll make them as brief as I can. I'm a molecular biologist trained at the University of Oregon. I have a couple years of lab experience in research setting, so I'm vetted in reading scientific literature. I've read a lot of the studies. The studies that listed, even the FDA study that lists, where they say that we've tested cigalikes, we've tested the cigarettes, the e-cigarettes that look like cigarettes. That's what they tested, and they tested an older style of e-liquid like a liquid that was manufactured under old premises. It had diethylene glycol and it had impure nicotine. That had the nitrosamines, the whole tobacco alkaloids still in it. That's no longer acceptable industry practices. American E-Liquid Manufacturers Standards Association has set up a framework for what is acceptable and what's not acceptable in e-liquid manufacture. None of the diacetyl, the diethylene glycol, and the purity of nicotine has to be so pure that it doesn't have the nitrosamines in it. So these things have been set up so that the secondhand vapor and the vapor is not as dangerous as even the light amount of dangerousness that was found in some of these older studies. Now, the second point I want to make is that 4115, House Bill 4115, restricts shops in such a way that it would force the consumer that wants to stay off of cigarettes and wants to continue using cigarettes to purchase e-liquid, first of all, from other states is the best case scenario, where our Oregon money would go to out of state. And second of all, more likely, is that they would be producing inferior products that would be made in China with inferior levels of inferior quality propylene glycol, inferior quality vegetable glycerin, inferior quality nicotine, which would be a dire detriment to the vaping society as a whole and the health of Oregonians as a whole. So I'm a father. I don't want my kids to get a hold of this stuff until until it's a face-to-face adult decision that they can make. I don't want that. I'm totally in support of Olson's, Representative Olson's bill, but the House Bill 4115 has gone way too far, and the impacts haven't been outlined by the writer.
And if you have scientific information that you're citing,
I will send you a list of links. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, Madam Chair. Thank you. Is this product regulated at all by FDA? Is there anyone that knows what's going in, actually?
Not yet, but there are a bunch of manufacturers, including me. I'm the lab manager at Vape Game.
You're lab manager?
I'm the lab manager at Vape Game.
Vape Game.
Vape Game, it's the same company. It's in Springfield, Oregon. It's the same company that these gentlemen own. We go by AIMSA standards. So there are lots of manufacturers that, and when you follow AIMSA standards, you have to list which fluids that you may or may not carry that do and do not follow AIMSA standards. The AIMSA certification process is a lengthy process. We're in the midst of it, but we meet these requirements.
And is anyone checking to make sure that?
Yes. AIMSA, to be a member of AIMSA,
they can do like spot checking?
They do random spot checking.
And how do you spell that?
AEMSA.org. It's American E-Liquid Manufacturers Standards Association.
And you will send that to us so
yes,
we
ma'am.
can check that. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And so there were some people who signed up and who haven't had a chance to speak yet. Come on up, sir. And tell me your name.
My name's Paul Bates.
Paul Bates. And you did sign up? I've got, oh, there you are. And Sean McDonald, come on up. And Robert Ward. Robert Ward. What is your name, sir, back there?
Michael Jones. You called me about...
Come on up, Michael Johns. Johns or Jones?
Jones.
Jones, got it, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Paul Bates. That actually sounds right. Here today to both support 4073 and oppose 4115. There's been a lot of evidence given here in various levels of elegance and eloquence. I'd like to say that I am current owner of Division Vapor in Portland, Oregon. I had been a smoker for 25 years. seriously trying to quit for the last 10, and e-cigarettes are the only method I have found in all those years of trying to quitting that actually work. I'm going to go beyond that a little bit right now. You've heard the evidence. We are hearing from tons of people thinking that vaping saved their life. Vaping saved your life, right? Saved your life.
Okay, could you also put up your hands, people who own businesses, the businesses that sell these? Great, thank you very much.
Okay. I'd like to say that 4115 misses the point. In attempting to lump electronic cigarettes in with smoking, completely misses the point of what it does. It is a different process, so completely different that you need proper background studies and everything else to build your own law rather than tacking it on to something that was a smoking law. Smoking is burning plant material. You light it on fire, it produces smoke, which is absolutely a different process than vaporization. You know, smoke will set off your smoke alarm in your kitchen. You start burning something on a pan, smoke. You boil water, you do not set off your smoke alarms. It is a different, completely different substance.
Paul, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up.
Okay.
Everybody has stayed here a very long
I'd just like to
time.
make that point should be entirely clear to almost anybody who studies this subject.
Great.
And
And
that
you know,
trying
you
to
send
lump
us
the
a
two
one-pager
together
with
is
your
a big
points
mistake.
and give it to
Mhm.
staff, and we'll make sure everybody gets it.
All right.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Sean McDonald, and I began smoking in college, and only after a year of smoking, it had terrible effects on my body, and I knew I needed to quit. So I set a goal to quit before I graduated from college, and I was successful. It took a long time, and I kept kind of procrastinating on quitting. I tried cold turkey, patch, and I figured, you know what, I had a buddy who had an electronic cigarette, and I tried it. And that was what worked. Now 11 months smoke-free. And recently, I had my fiance try it, and she wasn't too pleased. It wasn't until she was able to go into a store and find the right liquid for her at the right nicotine strength that really did it.
Had you been a smoker before this?
I smoked for about a year.
What's
She
your
smoked
fiance?
about 10 years now.
Okay.
Had about 30 cigarettes a day, which has now dropped to 1 or 2. I'm hoping soon that number is going to be 0.
We wish her good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Michael Jones, Rockin' Vape in Albany. And I just wanted to share a little story with you guys. This reminds me a lot of why we started this business. I have first-time customers that crumble their packs of cigarettes into the trash. You know, I have seen first-time customers tell me their very own testimony, just like we have here. Some tell me this was their last chance. You know, some tell me they have tried Chantix and still have nightmares from the FDA. You know, I still have, you know, customers that have actually just cried right on the spot after you get it. And I understand if you're not a smoker and you've never been addicted to this, you're not going to get it. And I get that. You know, I get that. But if you have and you've tried everything, because I guarantee you most of the businesses that have gone into this is passion. This is straight passion, and that's nothing more, nothing less of it. But we love what this product did for us and how we get to go and quit tobacco. We are not tobacco. We are not tobacco. Am I right, guys?
Right.
Okay. And I think if we want to take something away from this, we're not big tobacco. We don't support it. And the little guys, the little e-cigs that you see in the shops, you know, we're the residuals from that. Not them. They didn't create this. We did. And I think when we look back, you know, we want it to be known that it wasn't them that got us here. It was us. This is about us saving us, you know, and all we want is a better life for ourselves. So, you know, I thank you guys for staying late with us, and I'm definitely in support of 4073. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, there's some people I still haven't called. Did I call Justin Newman? Okay, so he's off. Edward Wiggins? Is that you, sir? Okay, come on up. Sure. Oh, and Jane Clark, is that you? Okay. So have I called Sean Bowers, did I call him already? And Robert Word? Okay. All these people. Whew. Thank you again, committee, for staying. Oh, and Tommy. You were Tommy, right? Yeah. Terrific. Okay, dear. Okay. And Robert Word. Okay.
Me?
All right, because people signed up for both bills, and so I'm just trying to, here. So go ahead.
Hey, my name's, for the record, my name's Edward Wiggins. Thank you, Madam Chair, and everybody else. I'm a new owner of Newberg Vapors in Newberg, Oregon here. I came across Jacob over here. He turned me on to electronic cigarettes, and I quit smoking I quit smoking cigarettes and went to cigars, and then now I'm done. I pulled money out of my retirement. That's how passionate I am on this. My wife's quit smoking everything. My main point is I went from 20 milligrams of nicotine. I'm now down to 8 in 1 month's time. And my goal as a business owner is to pass that on to everybody else so they don't have to have either one. It's about getting everybody off the tobacco, onto the pen, and then throw it away. And that's what I want. I want to lose customers that it can go through the process.
Good question. So I'm just going to ask briefly, has anybody done that? Who went from cigarettes to vaping and then also
He has 4 customers that have done it.
Okay, good.
Actually, more than 4 customers. I have multiple customers
Okay.
that can come and testify that they quit totally.
Good. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
That was my whole point.
All right,
Is,
thank you.
I think most of these people back here, that's where the different nicotine levels come in, and it get people off and done. And so I support 4078, but we need to be able to have our shops where we can gather.
Okay,
Thank you.
Go ahead.
My name is Firas Jacob, and I'm the owner of Elite Smoke Station.
Owner of what? What? The owner of
Smoke Station.
a smoke station? Is that what-
Elite.
Yeah, no
Elite.
cigarettes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I have been selling electronic cigarettes for over 6 months now in Salem, Oregon, and I got to meet a lot of people that were smokers, quit smoking, switched to vaporizers, and some of them are not even vaporizing anymore. So I think that's a great point, that they started with something, switched to something else, and then now they're doing nothing. If you limit their ability to vaporize outside, which there isn't enough research about the product that it says anything bad about it for people who are around vaporizers, I think you're just going to steal the opportunity from them to become those people that quit everything.
Okay, so thank you for coming to testify. I appreciate that.
I support the bill, by the way, that...
Representative Wilson's bill.
Yes.
Yes.
Got it.
Well,
Okay.
I'm going to make this really quick. My name is Jane Clark, and I've never done this in my life, and I'm shaking in my boots.
You're doing great,
Okay,
Jane. I
so
think you
I'm-
called and talked to my staff, didn't you? Yeah, good for
So
you.
I'm 53 years old. I smoked for almost 33 years. I have 5 grandkids and 3 children of my own. I do not smoke cigarettes anymore, thanks to the vapor. I don't own a business. I'm just a customer.
Where do you live, Jane? You're doing... This one we've got all night. You do?
I live in Amity. Actually, it's a little community called Ballston. And we're outside of Amity.
Amity, okay. I know where Amity is.
Yes, I work, am I allowed to say where I work? I probably shouldn't, I work for Nordstrom.
Good.
I've been there 5.5 years. And the last thing I'd like to say is thank you for allowing me to try these in public. I'm down to 16 or 14 milligrams. And I mean, I never dreamt that I'd ever quit smoking. I smoked a lot for a long time. And the FDA does not require the things that I sell, skincare-wise, to be tested either. Just saying. I never came with that intent, and I didn't know that this was going to be here today. I heard about it, and I asked if I could leave work early, and they let me.
Good.
That's all I'd like to say, and thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Thanks for coming. Great job. Anybody who's not had a chance to testify who would like to, come on up very quickly. Anybody else? This is our last person. So what is your name, sir?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My name's Thaddeus Marney. I'm actually the former...
That again?
Thaddeus Marney.
I love that name.
Thank you.
Oh, my gosh. You can tell it's late in the day.
I'm actually the former board member of an organization called the Consumer Advocates for Smoke-Free Alternatives Association. We actively promote the education on tobacco harm reduction. Very familiar with Joel Niskin. Glad to see him here today, and I strongly encourage you to pay very close attention to what he had to share today. I wanted to, everybody here did such a great job. I don't want to recap too much, but I wanted to bring up a couple of things that haven't been brought up. Specifically with 4115, because of, excuse me, I'm fighting up a little bit of cold myself, but and I'm new to the whole process of politics and getting nervous. But because 4115 does not specify nicotine products in its inclusion of smoking products, it would actually also include the use of e-cigarettes for cannabis under the Oregon Medical Marijuana Act, as well as the likelihood of upcoming legalization. And it's important to note that we have millions of deathly ill medical marijuana patients in this state that need to have access to their medicine without having to smoke it. And if 4115 was passed, they would not only, they would actually have to basically return to smoking in many cases, or not be able to use these smoke-free alternatives in places where they're not able to or to smoke because of the wide variety of places where smoking is prohibited by the Oregon Clean Air Act. So I think it's very important to keep that very much in mind, that this not only affects those of us who are trying to get away from the harms of tobacco smoking, but also cannabis patients who are trying to get away from the harms of smoking anything. The real bottom line, and I really want to echo what previous statement said, is the difference between fire, flaming, burning, and smoking. That's when you light something on fire, that's what creates the ash, that's what creates the carbon monoxide, that's what creates the tar, that's what creates the smoke, and that's also what creates the fire hazards. That's another issue you don't hear brought up very often. You're not going to light, e-cigarettes prevent forest fires.
I love it.
You're not going to...
Okay, Thaddeus, thank you.
Thank you very much.
One question
Yes,
with the
of
marijuana?
course. And
Thank
somebody
you,
else
Madam
had a
Chair.
question.
No, I just wondered, does that mean that currently medical marijuana users can either smoke or vape marijuana in restaurants, all of the buildings that prohibit it right now?
It's possible. You can use a vaporizer anywhere. It's not included in the Oregon Smoking Clean Air Act, but using vaporized products allows them to use them without an effect on bystanders. Recent studies, and I can forward them to the committee, is showing that vaporizing drastically reduces any toxins, definitely to the user, but to bystanders to millions of levels times below what could possibly have any effect on bystanders.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about secondhand smoke.
Oh, and
vaping marijuana and secondhand smoke is like, hey, you just raised another issue.
It drastically reduces. It drastically reduces that because it's vaporized. When you burn something, when you light something on fire, you're actually producing particulate matter that's actually floating in the air, and so it's spreading around. When you're vaporizing, it's just a tiny, tiny amount. A heavy user uses less than a teaspoon a day of liquid.
Thank you. Thank you.
And there's just not much to be spread.
You're welcome to send something in writing.
I will. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much. Representative Gomberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for extending this hearing for nearly an hour. I mean, I've been in this room since 1 o'clock this afternoon, but I learned a lot in the last 2 hours, and I appreciate that very much. I also wanted to say I'm really gratified to hear stories from people who testified today that this new device has helped them get away from tobacco. That's very positive news as well. I have a question that I want to share with the group, and I encourage them to answer my question in writing, and I'll put that material into our public record as well. And the question is this. We've heard from a lot of people that are recovering smokers, tobacco smokers. And they were certainly familiar with the current restrictions on tobacco smoking, and they're essentially arguing that those restrictions should not apply to e-cigarettes as they do to tobacco cigarettes. And some people address that rather directly, but most people just simply said the bill goes too far. I'd like to understand better the difference between tobacco smoking in public and e-cigarette smoking in public. And part of the context for that is that we had a very brief demonstration of vaping here, very brief. And I'll just say for the record that from here 10 feet away, that we could discern the flavoring. And it was very brief, but I think from 10 feet away, my colleagues would agree we could smell it from here. And I'd just like to understand better the context of public cigarette smoking and public e-cigarette smoking. So write to me, send me an email, I will put it into the committee record.
Thank you, Representative. And I know, I'm sorry, ma'am. Representative Barnhart, is he still here?
It's right in front of you.
Oh. Get new glasses, Representative. Okay.
Thank you. Madam Chair, again, Phil Barnhart, State Representative, House District 11. I've sat through this hearing. I have learned some things today that I did not know. I want the committee to understand that I prepared 4 different amendments having to do with demonstrations of products. The one that I presented to you earlier, the -1 amendment, simply doesn't allow the demonstration of products. I have heard today from people who are vehement about getting off of tobacco, and they see this as they see vaping as a means of accomplishing that. And they point out, and I think fairly persuasively, that in order to get people who are chronic tobacco users to try something that may help, they claim it does, I have no evidence one way or the other, that they would like to be able to demonstrate the use of these products to the people who come into their vape shops. I have prepared a -3 amendment, which I think I shared with the chair. I'm not certain.
It's on the list.
It's on the list. I prepared a -3 amendment. The -3 amendment does all the things the -1 amendment does, except in line 18 and 19, the -3 amendment says vaping is permitted in a shop that exclusively sells vapor products. Now, when I first prepared this, I thought this was very impractical because I thought, obviously erroneously, that people who were interested in demonstrations would want to demonstrate tobacco and cigars and cigarettes and a variety of other things and vapor products in the same place. What we've heard today from the people who said that my bill goes too far is that they're not interested in tobacco products. They want to get off of tobacco products, and they see being able to demonstrate the use of their vapor products in their shops as a positive thing to help other people do that. Given the situation that we're in, I am perfectly willing for the committee to experiment with this issue, to take them at their word, to adopt the -3 amendment instead of the -1 that I earlier proposed, because I'm convinced that at least the people who came to testify here, who own vape shops, are sincere in wanting to help people get off of tobacco. Now, I think it's really important for the committee to recognize that nobody in the testimony you've heard has suggested that it's okay for kids to use these products. Nobody has suggested that that was okay. That suggests to me that despite all the other protestations that people have, that there's a danger, perceived at least, in the use of vapor products. Otherwise, why would we care if kids used them? That leads me to the firm belief that we need to restrict the use of vapor products in public in the same way that we restrict the use of cigarettes in public. The issue that has been raised over and over again today isn't really about that issue. It's about the issue of converting people who are already addicted to tobacco products to something that is less harmful to them. I'm willing to go there. And that's why I propose that the committee consider the -3 amendment. And let's take them at their word, and let's see if they can actually make that work in a way. But I don't want to expose the general public to additional nicotine products, other products of that sort in the air that we breathe in the normal no-smoking areas. That's why I proposed the bill in the first place, and I urged the committee to pass the basic bill that I've already proposed. But this one wrinkle might be useful for those people who are zealous about helping other people get off of the use of tobacco cigarettes. One other comment, if I may. It is already unlawful to use marijuana in any form in a way that will put something into the air in a public place. Marijuana is more restricted than the use of tobacco, so the last witness before me who was talking about that, I think is incorrect. I'm sorry that Mark Mayer left, because he would be the person who could give you a definitive statement about what the rule about marijuana is, but it is my understanding that it is not legal now to use marijuana in a way that puts it out into the air. And my able staff just handed me a statute that includes the dangerous weapons on the bottom and limitations on immunity at the top for marijuana. And I'll just give you the statute number because I can't read it in a minute. It's ORS 475.316. I suggest looking at that and also checking with Mark Mayer about that issue. But it is my understanding, at least, that it would be unlawful for a person to put hashish or some other THC type product in a vape product, even if they are using it for medical reasons, and use it in a public place now. That this bill doesn't have any effect at all on that issue.
Thank you, Representative. Any quick questions? Welcome to the Human Services and Housing Committee. She's brand new to the legislature. This is her third day, so we're so happy to have her.
Can I ask?
Yes.
So actually my mind was kind of going in the same direction as yours, and I appreciate you lighting up your e-cigarette, because I actually haven't seen it, and I've heard from a lot of people that they've been next to someone in an airport who's done it, and that it actually really bothered them, and I didn't know what it was about, but I got a very strong whiff too, and so that does raise concerns for me about being in a restaurant or next to someone in a train station or those kind of places. And so I like the direction that it's going, and I wonder if out of the people, all the people who own the vaping stores here, yours says that vaping is permitted in a shop that exclusively sells vapor products. Does that include everyone here? All of your shops exclusively sell vaping products? Yeah. Yes? Or is there any other exception? So I just wonder.
I'm sorry, you cannot speak from the audience.
Okay, so I just wanted to be clear, because some of you maybe haven't seen the amendment. If you have any suggestions about that language, we are in a very tight timetable. I encourage you to contact Representative Barnhart.
Absolutely. Any last comments? Representative Olson, you've been very patient. Anything?
Nope.
Okay. Anything else? I'm sorry. No. I asked the committee, not you. So I don't usually allow applause, even though we did have some applause earlier on, but usually we don't. But I want you to applaud yourselves. Mm-hmm. You were very patient. You stayed here a very long time to listen to a lot of testimony about bills about which you had no interest. And you were very patient to stay, and you were very polite here. And we really appreciate it. So I'm going to give you a nice applause.
Yay.
We're going to close the public hearing and the work session on House Bills 4115 and 4075, and we will carry both of these bills over. Again, thank you very much. Thank you, committee.
And we're adjourned.